Hello and welcome to Past Matters. In this video we will talk about the life of Alexander the Great, one of the most famous and influential rulers in history. In this video, we will explore how Alexander became the king of Macedonia, how he overthrew the mighty Persian Empire, how he reached the borders of India, and how he changed the course of civilization. Alexander was born in 356 BCE in Pella, the capital of Macedonia, a small kingdom in northern Greece. His father was Philip II, a brilliant general and diplomat who expanded Macedonia's power and influence. His mother was Olympias, a princess of Epirus, a region in western Greece. She was a devout follower of the god Dionys and claimed that Alexander was the son of Zeus, the king of the gods. Alexander grew up as a curious and adventurous boy. He learned to read, write, and play the lyre, a musical instrument. He also developed a passion for horses and became an excellent rider. He named his favorite horse Bucephalus, meaning ox head, because of its large head. When Alexander was 13 years old, his father hired Aristotle, one of the greatest philosophers and scientists of all time, to be his private tutor. Aristotle taught Alexander about literature, history, geography, biology, medicine, and many other subjects. He also introduced him to the works of Homer, the epic poet who wrote about the heroes of the Trojan War. Alexander was especially inspired by the character of Achilles, a brave and invincible warrior who fought for glory and honor. In 340 BCE, when Alexander was 16 years old, his father left him in charge of Macedonia while he went to attack Byzantium, a city in modern-day Turkey. Alexander proved his military skills by defeating a rebellion of the Mede, a tribe in Thrace, a region in northern Greece. He also founded his first city, Alexandropolis, near the site of his victory. 2 years later, in 338 BCE, Alexander joined his father in the Battle of Chaeronea against an alliance of Greek city-states led by Athens and Thebes. Alexander commanded the left wing of the Macedonian army and displayed his courage and leadership by breaking through the elite sacred band of Thebes, a unit composed of 150 pairs of male lovers who fought with great loyalty and bravery. The battle ended with a decisive victory for Macedonia and established Philip as the master of Greece. A year later, in 337 BCE, Philip divorced Olympias and married Cleopatra Eurydice, a young Macedonian noblewoman. This caused a rift between Alexander and his father, who also had other sons who could claim the throne. At a feast to celebrate the wedding, Philip's new father-in-law insulted Olympias and Alexander by saying that Philip should have a legitimate heir. Alexander threw his cup at him and shouted, "What am I then? A bastard?" Philip drew his sword and charged at Alexander but tripped and fell. Alexander mocked him by saying, "Here is the man who was making ready to cross from Europe to Asia, and who cannot even cross from one table to another without losing his balance." Alexander and Olympias fled to Epirus and then to Illyria. They were soon reconciled with Philip, who needed Alexander's support for his plan to invade Asia and conquer the Persian Empire. However, in 336 BCE, before Philip could launch his campaign, he was assassinated by one of his bodyguards during a wedding ceremony. Some historians suspect that Olympias or even Alexander may have been involved in the plot. Alexander was 20 years old when he became the king of Macedonia. He faced many challenges from enemies both inside and outside his kingdom. He quickly eliminated any rivals or conspirators who threatened his authority. He also secured his position as the leader of the League of Corinth, an alliance of Greek states that recognized Macedonia's supremacy and agreed to join its war against Persia. In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed the Hellespont, the strait that separates Europe from Asia, with an army of about 40,000 soldiers and began his invasion of Asia Minor, modern-day Turkey. He faced his first major battle at the Granicus River against a Persian army led by several satraps, governors, and Greek mercenaries. Alexander led a cavalry charge across the river and broke through the enemy lines. He personally fought against some of the Persian commanders and killed 2 of them with his own hands. The battle ended with a crushing defeat for Persia and opened up Asia Minor for Alexander's conquest. Alexander continued his march southward along the coast of Asia Minor. He liberated many Greek cities that had been under Persian rule and received their support and tribute. He also founded new cities, such as Alexandria Troas, near the site of ancient Troy. He visited the ruins of Troy and paid homage to the heroes of the Trojan War. He claimed the shield of Achilles as his own and placed a wreath on the tomb of Achilles' friend Patroclus. In 333 BCE, Alexander reached Gordium, the capital of Phrygia, a region in Central Asia Minor. There he encountered the famous Gordian knot, a complex knot that secured the yoke of an ancient wagon. According to legend, whoever could untie the knot would become the ruler of Asia. Many people had tried and failed to solve the puzzle. Alexander, impatient and confident, simply cut the knot with his sword and declared himself the rightful king of Asia. Later that year, Alexander faced his second major battle against the Persians at Issus, near the northeastern corner of the Mediterranean Sea. There he met the Persian king Darius III, who had gathered a huge army of about 100,000 soldiers to stop Alexander's advance. Despite being outnumbered, Alexander used his superior tactics and morale to outflank and rout the Persian army. Darius fled in panic, leaving behind his family, his treasure, and his chariot. Alexander captured them and treated them with respect and kindness. After his victory at Issus, Alexander turned southward and conquered Syria, Phoenicia, and Palestine. He besieged and captured Tyre, a powerful and wealthy city-state on an island off the coast of Lebanon. He also took Gaza, the last stronghold of Persian resistance in the region. He then entered Egypt, where he was welcomed as a liberator by the Egyptians who hated Persian rule. He founded another city, Alexandria, near the mouth of the Nile River. He also visited the Oracle of Ammon at Siwar Oasis in the western desert. There he was greeted by the priests as the son of Zeus Ammon, a god who was identified with both the Greek Zeus and the Egyptian Ammon. In 331 BCE, Alexander left Egypt and marched eastward into Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq. He faced Darius for the third and final time at Gaugamela, also known as Arbela, near the city of Mosul. Darius had assembled another massive army of about 200,000 soldiers, including war elephants and scythe chariots, chariots with blades attached to their wheels. Alexander once again used his superior strategy and courage to defeat the Persians. He broke through their center and chased Darius, who escaped but was later killed by one of his own generals. Alexander entered Babylon, one of the oldest and most splendid cities in the world. He was greeted by its people as their new king and received their tribute and homage. He also entered Susa and Persepolis, two other major cities of the Persian Empire. He looted their treasures and burned their palaces as a symbol of his revenge for the Persian invasion of Greece in 480 BCE. By 330 BCE, Alexander had conquered most of the Persian Empire, which stretched from Egypt to India. However, he was not satisfied with his achievements. He wanted to explore and conquer new lands beyond Persia. He also wanted to spread Greek culture and civilization throughout Asia. He led his army into Bactria, modern-day Afghanistan, and Sogdiana, modern-day Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, two regions that were part of Persia but had rebelled against its rule. He faced fierce resistance from the local tribes who fought with guerrilla tactics in the mountains and deserts. He also faced a conspiracy among some of his own generals who plotted to kill him. He discovered and executed them with ruthless efficiency. In Bactria, Alexander married Roxana, a beautiful princess who was the daughter of a local chieftain. He hoped that this marriage would help him win over the hearts and minds of his new subjects. He also encouraged his soldiers to marry local women and adopt some of their customs. In 327 BCE, Alexander crossed the Hindu Kush mountains and entered India. He fought against several Indian kings who opposed his invasion. He won a decisive victory against Porus, a powerful ruler who commanded an army that included war elephants. Alexander admired Porus for his bravery and generosity and allowed him to keep his kingdom as a vassal. Alexander wanted to continue his conquest further eastward to reach the end of the world as he knew it. However, his soldiers were exhausted and homesick after years of fighting and marching. They refused to follow him any further into India. Alexander reluctantly agreed to turn back. He decided to return to Babylon by sailing down the Indus River, in modern-day Pakistan, and then crossing the Arabian Sea, part of the Indian Ocean. Along the way, he fought against many tribes who resisted his passage. He also founded more cities along the river banks. He divided his army into two groups. He sent one group to sail across the Arabian Sea to the Persian Gulf, while he led the other group through the Jedrosian Desert, in modern-day Iran. This was a dangerous and difficult journey that cost many lives due to thirst, hunger, and heat. Alexander himself suffered from fever and exhaustion. In 324 BCE, Alexander reunited with his other group in Susa. He celebrated his return by holding a mass wedding ceremony in which he married Statira, the daughter of Darius III. He also arranged marriages for 80 of his generals and 10,000 of his soldiers with Persian women. He hoped that this would create a bond of friendship and loyalty between the Greeks and the Persians. He also rewarded his veterans with gifts and honors. He discharged those who were wounded or too old to fight and sent them back to Greece. He recruited new soldiers from the local populations to replenish his army. Alexander had a vision of creating a universal empire that would unite the East and the West under his rule. He wanted to promote a fusion of cultures and religions that he called homonoia, meaning harmony. He adopted some Persian customs and rituals, such as wearing Persian clothes and proskynesis, bowing before the king. He also respected and supported the various gods and beliefs of his subjects. He even planned to build temples for the Egyptian god Ammon, the Indian god Krishna, and the Jewish god Yahweh. However, not everyone shared his vision or appreciated his policies. Many Greeks and Macedonians resented his adoption of Persian ways and his favoritism toward the Persians. They also feared that he would lose his Greek identity and become a tyrant. Many Persians and other Asians hated him as a foreign conqueror and oppressor. They also resented his attempts to impose Greek culture and religion on them. Alexander faced several rebellions and conspiracies against his life. He dealt with them harshly and executed anyone who was suspected of treason or disloyalty. He became more paranoid and violent as time went on. In 323 BCE, Alexander returned to Babylon, where he prepared for a new campaign to conquer Arabia. However, he fell ill with a fever that lasted for several days. He died on June 13, 323 BCE, at the age of 32. His last words were, "To the strongest," when asked who should succeed him. Alexander's death triggered a power struggle among his generals, who divided his empire into several kingdoms that fought each other for decades. His empire soon collapsed and his family was wiped out. His body was embalmed and placed in a golden coffin that was later transferred to Alexandria, where it was venerated as a sacred relic. Alexander's legacy is immense and lasting. He is widely regarded as one of the greatest military commanders and conquerors of all time. He changed the course of history by spreading Greek culture and civilization throughout Asia. He also influenced many cultures and civilizations that came after him, such as the Romans, the Arabs, the Mongols, and the Turks. He is also a source of inspiration and fascination for many people throughout history. He has been admired by rulers such as Julius Caesar, Napoleon Bonaparte, and Adolf Hitler. He has also been criticized by philosophers such as Diogenes, Plutarch, and Voltaire. He has been portrayed in many works of art, literature, and film by artists such as Leonardo da Vinci, William Shakespeare, Oliver Stone, and many others. He is also a subject of many legends and myths that embellish or distort his historical career. He is said to have descended from Hercules, to have flown in a chariot pulled by griffins, to have visited the underworld, to have searched for the fountain of youth, and to have been guided by divine providence. He is also known by many names and titles that reflect his achievements and influence. He is called Alexander the Great, Alexander III of Macedon, Alexander of Greece, Alexander of Asia, Alexander Basileus, King, Alexander Anax, Lord, Alexander Philhellene, lover of Greeks, Alexander Megas, Great, Alexander Iskander, in Persian, Alexander Sikander, in Urdu, Alexander Megalexandros, very great Alexander, Alexander Invictus, unconquered, Alexander Parthicus, conqueror of Parthia, Alexander Indicus, conqueror of India, Alexander Magnus, in Latin, Alexander Homegas, in Greek, Ulaskandar al-Akbar, in Arabic, Eskander-i Bozorg, in Persian, Sikandar-i Azam, in Urdu, Alexandre le Grand, in French, Alejandro Magno, in Spanish, Alessandro Magno, in Italian, and many more. Thank you for watching this video about the life of Alexander the Great. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to leave a comment below and tell us what you think about Alexander the Great. Was he a hero or a villain? A genius or a madman? A visionary or a tyrant? We would love to hear your opinions and suggestions. See you next time.